Howdy, howdy. I've got a pretty bad setup, and that's to say I have zero setup whatsoever. Uh, this is also a new laptop, so I'll have to get used to that. And there is a dog asleep right next to the computer. I'm sure you can hear him snoring, but that's just gonna be a thing that happens. And I am using the laptop microphone. I didn't bring a microphone. I'm dog sitting for my dad, so just whatever I had laying around this setup. I'm just kind of bored. It's Saturday. I ain't got a job and I ain't got shit to do, so I'm doing art. That's a lie. I actually do have a job, but it's not in session right now. And let's see. I have no idea what I'm drawing. I probably should have thought about that before I started streaming. But oh gosh, this is a low resolution. Why did I make a piece of paper with such a low resolution? Ooh, I don't like this. Oh well. I've already started drawing, so I guess I'll just steal. Eat. And, here's a fun fact. I have spent 6 years of my life trying to, develop my art style in a way that, I don't like that nose. Trying to develop my art style in a way that would hide the fact that I did learn how to draw from Hetalia, which especially 6 years ago, not the most choice of places to learn how to draw. And I thought I did a pretty good job. But a few days ago, and I don't remember where this was, somebody looked at my art and went, "Hey, that looks like Hetalia." And I panicked. And I think it might be the face shapes. But other than that, I have no idea. Because I have a pretty Western approach to art, I think. So the fact that it gets compared to a Japanese animation is just a little shocking in general. The only thing I can think of is the necks and the face shapes. I think it's what's reminding people of Hetalia, because I don't like the skinny necks that Western animation does. I get why they do it. It's easier to get the head to pivot on it. It's a lot harder to pivot a head on an actual neck. But I just prefer the thick necks, which I will eventually get to in this doodle of mine. I'm just gonna do our partial robot pal, I guess. I have no idea how long I'm gonna be streaming with this. Again, I'm really only doing this because I'm bored and the dog just woke up. I probably woke him up by talking. Hi, Nielsen. He won't look at me, he's deaf. Never mind. Okay. Whoop. And what was I talking about? I don't remember what I was talking about. I guess I'll find a new subject. I'm sure I've told this probably in my last stream, but one of the most... I go to Kroger a lot. And there was one time I went to Kroger, and to put it into context, this isn't the country. It wasn't quite the city either. It was a suburb Kroger, which are, the best Krogers. But there was this guy who went in there. It used to be countryside, some people got countryed into the suburbs. There's this guy, older fella, had a gun holster, which isn't too uncommon where I live. It's a little weird to bring a gun to a grocery store, but it's not you're not gonna get more than 2 looks if you bring a gun to a grocery store where I live. But it wasn't a gun in his gun holster. It was a packet of open peanuts or trail mix. I forgot which one. And he was just snacking on the peanuts he had in his gun holster. And I think about that every day of my life. Bye, Nielsen. Dog just walked away. Oh, you heard me. It's a miracle. And that's like the only interesting thing that's ever happened in a Kroger ever, I think, unless you're talking about the murder Kroger, which I heard they tore down. I'm not sure if the murder Kroger is still up. And for context in that, if you don't live in Atlanta, there is a Kroger here that is referred to as the murder Kroger for probably the reason you think. Like, I think like 3 or 4 people have been murdered there, which is an unusually high like statistic for a Kroger. Like a Walmart, like okay, every time I go to a Walmart, like I accept that there is a chance of death, but like when I go to a Kroger, um, some guy with a gun holster full of peanuts is about as wild as I expect a Kroger to get. You know, like every 5th time I've been to a Walmart, somebody has been dragged out of there in handcuffs. That's just my experience with Walmart. But with Kroger, like, it's calm, especially because I go midday on a weekday. It's filled with just like retired people mostly, so it's like an older crowd as well, so it's nice and quiet. But yeah, just some dude with a gun holster full of peanuts, and I can't think of a better way to live my life than to go to Kroger. That was my one good story. Let's see. Oh, overdid it. I'm just gonna black out the whole thing and then see if this will. Brush density. Turn anti-alias to new. There we go. That's a little. There we go. That works. Gosh, this is such a low resolution. What was I saying? Oh yeah, I wasn't saying anything. I already finished my one good story that I came onto the stream with. Well, I have a cane now. There we go. I have like full body rheumatoid arthritis, and it affects my ability to walk sometimes. So like I'm 20 and I look like 18, but I gotta carry around this cane sometimes. I say God, I don't have to, it just helps. It's fun though. I have an offset cane. It's fun though because like even though this cane, like it's a real light cane, I got it for like $10. It's like half a pound, but it's made of metal, like some sort of just real lightweight metal, and it's hollow. And like whenever I grab it from the middle for whatever reason, like it's got a good swing. Like it's only half a pound, but you could probably knock somebody out with that thing. And I think about that constantly. So even on days when I don't need it, if I'm walking, because I live in a college town, if I'm walking around past sunset, I'll just bring the cane with me anyway. Especially because I go to a school with the highest rate of sexual assault of any other Georgia state university. So the cane is quite useful. I haven't had to use it, thank God, but I'm just saying we should all carry around canes. So it's self-defense. It's actually on my campus in the state I'm in, it's legal to have a gun on campus. But honestly, canes are much better. Like, you don't need to just legalize guns, just have everybody carry canes around. It's a little harder to kill somebody with a cane. You could, don't get me wrong, you could. But it's not like a gun where there isn't really a shoot to just injure option with a gun. No matter where you aim, there is a chance of death. Just about. Whereas with a cane, like, you gotta aim it pretty good to kill somebody. Especially one as light as I have. Where was I going with this? I don't know. Something about I walk around at night because I have night classes and morning classes and midday classes. I just have the worst like school schedule. It's hard to find a work when I have a school schedule like that. And my current work is out of session, so now I'm just like applying elsewhere, trying to see if there's anybody else that'll take me. And my unskilled self. Oh, my hand. There's a story. So I have the arthritis in my hand can cause carpal tunnel, because it swells and it shuts off the nerve. Or cuts off the nerve rather, not shuts it off. But I also have tendonitis in my left hand. I have carpal tunnel in both, tendonitis in my left. And tendonitis can also cut off nerves and cause like just like numbing on top of like itch and just general limited movement. I have no idea if I'm like understandable. Where was I going with this? Oh yeah. And so there was like a month, like last time I streamed, my hand was, I should not have been using it. It was mostly numb. And what wasn't numb was in a lot of pain. And then after that stream, like I couldn't just like draw. I also couldn't write for almost a month. And like 90% of everything I do is related to my left hand, which is my dominant. And so like it just sucked. And about a week ago, I got feeling back in my hand, and I've been doing nothing but drawing, which I know is bad for it because now like my pinky is numb again. But whatever. I made them a little thinner than I meant to. Oh well. It's just so now. His jacket is real short. You get a short lab coat. It barely qualifies as a lab coat at this point. Eek. That was the thing that happened. I am currently, because my dad, you know, I had like my childhood home, and my dad moved out of it for a while, and he recently moved back in, and I am dog sitting for him, so I am now back in, you know, a house I haven't been in since like I was an adolescent. And it's like so weird because one, the house is a lot smaller than I remember it being. Two, everything's a lot shorter than I remember it being. Like there's a ceiling fan in the living room that I'm in right now that like, you know, my dad's decently tall. It's like comes within an inch of him hitting his head on it. Like if he were to stand on his tiptoes, he would hit his head on the fan. That's how, like I'm not used to dog outside? No, it's a different dog. Not my dog. Okay. Sorry, I got really far away from the computer for a while there. I don't know if you were still able to hear me. But yeah, I've got a new Lappy Tup. My old one is pretty shot. Not just pretty shot, it is shot. It starts and that's about all it does. Because a ram stick on it got fried. Due to it being set directly on a surface with the intake fan over a surface with a lot of dog hair on it. Not me, I didn't do that. And dog hair got into it and overheated, and like when I pulled out, like I was like I couldn't figure out what was wrong with the computer at first because it was just blue screening. And I opened it up and like one of the ram sticks was just coated in singed dog hair. I was like, well, that's it. And I took out the ram stick and the computer stopped blue screening. But I then had a very old laptop with half of its intended RAM running Windows 10, and it was just not like a full version of Windows 10. It was not a light version of Windows 10. It was not doing. Windows 10, by the way, I feel like it gets more hate than it deserves. Windows 8 was awful, and I think that's why a lot of people were like just did not want to get into Windows 10. But you know, Windows 10 it runs fast. Windows it doesn't have like the 5 million windows open as Windows 8 does at any given time, and I hated Windows 8 for that. It's just in general like it's a much better operating system than Windows 8, and it also has look at the start screen. I have been saying, oh, I meant to get rid of this half of everything. I've been saying for forever that this is the way start screens should look. I've been saying this since Windows 7. This is the way a start screen should look. You got your apps right here. You got this right here. I mean, this is a little too wide for me. I prefer this half to not be here, but you can get rid of that if you want. I just haven't. What was I going to say? But yeah, I did just get this laptop late yesterday, so like I'm still downloading programs on it and everything. Like I just downloaded OBS and I was like, I'll do a stream. Why not? Why not? Is there anybody online? Hold on. Eek. Nope, just me. I'm talking to myself. That's okay. Alrighty. I'm not gonna color this one, I don't think. Well, I don't have my color study out on this computer, so I can't even if I wanted to. I could, but it wouldn't look right because I don't have my color study with me. But yeah, I just downloaded all the drivers for my Wacom tablet, which, by the way, when I bought this computer, I didn't realize that laptops, especially in this price range, had two different types of touchscreens, and I accidentally got the wrong kind. This one doesn't have pressure sensitivity, which is fine. I only need pressure sensitivity for like 1/3 of what I was planning on using the touchscreen for, which is, drawing. Really, I wanted the touchscreen because it's like, it's better on my hands to use the on-screen keyboard than to use an actual keyboard if I don't have feeling in my hands. Because then like I can just push like a curled up knuckle against it if I can't straighten my hand out. And that was like the main reason I wanted a touchscreen. This one does a cool thing where it just like it flips up like a tent, which is the way I've got it set up now, which is actually really useful if for whatever reason, like in this very impromptu setup, I have to have the computer lower than me. It's also good, I think, just for like watching videos, I guess. And this computer is actually, this laptop is more powerful than my desktop computer. Okay, I think our first little guy is done. This is Balthazar Mariana from the Salt of the Earth comic I work on occasion. Hasn't been the main comic I've been working on lately. The main comic I've been working on lately is Enemies at War, but eek. I want to work on Salt of the Earth more. It's more that like I can't decide the medium for Salt of the Earth because I don't have the resources to. I definitely don't want to make it a book. I don't have the resources to make it into a show with hour-long episodes, which is or 44-minute episodes, which would be the ideal for like the ideal medium for this story. It wouldn't translate the book at all. And I barely have enough resources to do a comic. And that's why like I've been settling on doing it as a comic recently. But like it's just I don't want it to be a comic. It would work just so much better as a 44-minute TV show. But, I'll take it. I'll take it, I guess. Let's see. And we'll draw next to him an alien species from the comic. Now, this alien species, this particular alien, Rue, is very the alien species in this. There's two different or Xylats, and there's actually two different species of Xylats. Kind of like basically if Neanderthals were alive today, that'd be kind of like the Xylat situation. They have your cave Xylats, which are more similar to humans, and then your meadow Xylats, which are more similar to your Neanderthals. Like the meadow Xylats are much larger, much more powerful, and they have big old wings. They're still flightless. Both the Xylats are flightless, but the wings are just a leftover evolutionary thing. Rue is the smaller of the two, the cave Xylat, and on top of that, he's very inbred, so he's also a lot shorter than even a short cave Xylat would normally end up being. So we have our inbred Xylat over here. Eek. Ooh, I like the way that ear turned out. Alrighty. And Sorry, I got really focused for a second there. One thing I've been thinking about doing in this comic is get some mole eyes. Normally Xylates have big old eyes, but this guy's got small ones. Oh, that's not how Xylat noses do. Man, his face ended up skewed. I had my I had my head tilted the whole time I was drawing this. Oh yeah. This would be a rather new idea for Rue, but I want him to... Dang it, I had my head tilted again. Okay, if I can refrain from tilting my head long enough to do this. Yeah, with Rue, this was nowhere prevalent in any earlier versions, but I've decided to have him hooked up to kind of an oxygen tank. I figure, he's probably got health conditions. He's like, I mean, I've already, in concept, he has like really bad arthritis in his legs. So like, he's basically got like Xylat dwarfism, but not quite. It's not like quite dwarfism. But it's similar in appearance and everything like that. His ears too big. He doesn't have very big ears. He's got very small ears. Oop. As far as Xylat ears go, it's very small. Eeh. So yeah, by the way, Balthazar Mariana, this takes place like 800 years in the future, and by chance humans have needed to evolve to be a lot larger. So he's like he's like 6.5 to 7 feet tall about. And Rue here is about as short as Xylats get. This is your unless you get a Xylat unless you get a cave Xylat, I should say, with actual dwarfism, you're not going to get shorter than this in a full-grown Xylat. Even like a meadow Xylat. Like a meadow Xylat is about twice as tall as Balthazar Mariana. Oh, I didn't do your mechanical neck bits. There we go. He looks like a shitty teen. I did not mean for that. Normally he looks a lot more intimidating. I'm getting used to this new laptop, and also I keep tilting my head, which keeps like, now the hair is not quite on right. What was I doing? Oh no, I don't know what clothes I want to put him in. Rue doesn't have wings, but Cave Xylat's wings are very small anyway. And Xylats, just like in their, biological, like primitive nature, like to climb things. So when they're toddlers, it's actually like toddler mortality rates are higher than infant mortality rates with Xylats because they'll try to climb things that they cannot climb because their legs and arms aren't quite developed enough, especially in cave Xylats because they no longer have the long fingers like meadow Xylats do, and they have very short wings, whereas like a meadow Xylat can kind of catch on rocks on occasion, although they do risk breaking their wings if they do that. I feel like I was saying so. Oh yeah, and Rue, as a toddler, or not as a toddler, but like as a young kid, fell and needed to get his wings amputated. So he don't got them. Oop. Well, that low resolution, man, it's gonna kill me. I think, hold on. Yeah, sorry, I was just comparing head sizes. There we go. Yes, apply to transform. Oh, it's one of the dogs. I heard somebody like sigh, and I was like, but I'm home alone. But it was a dog. My dad has a gigantic dog that weighs about the same as I do, so when he sighs, it sounds like a person sigh. Oop. And I have to get back used to that. And, oop. I'm like completely freehanding this. I don't have any sketches or anything. Normally I do, but as I said, I'm just doing this because I'm bored. I'm not actually, I'm not actually trying to do anything worthwhile here. I said that, and then I go ahead and sketch it out. Also, like Xylot feet typically don't come this small. Like Rue can barely walk. This is not how Xylot legs are supposed to look. But yeah, Xylots typically get around. If it's a short distance, they'll like walk, but anything where they can jump to, they do that because it's like the way their body is built. It takes less energy to jump than it does to walk foot by foot. But like you know, again, meadow Xylots are twice the size of humans, so a jump to them would be you know, 2 to 3 dozen feet, I think. I don't know, I didn't really think about the science behind that. A small hop would be like a walk speed hop would probably be about 12 feet. So, you know, 12 feet. I don't know how many meters that is for you non-Americans. I think that's about 4 meters. A little less than 4 meters. And then like a running stride hop would be a little more than double that. With cave Xylots, that stride's much smaller. You know, walking jump would probably only be like, I don't know, 6 feet. And a running jump would be like 12. Man, I'm normally better at drawing. I'm just doing this real fast. I'm not actually doing anything with this drawing. I'm gonna delete it the moment I stop streaming this. Which is probably gonna be overseen. Okay. Oh, I forgot to draw his little... There we go. And this is what I've been debating adding on to him, is an oxygen tank. Like, he can't breathe very well, especially in Earth atmosphere. It's not like drastically different. Like, you know, a healthy Xylot can breathe Earth air without too much of an issue. But Rue, who would usually only need an oxygen tank on a particularly bad day, or like while sleeping on Lat, he needs it constantly on Earth, or else he gets kind of weak and sick. It's not quite the composition that he needs. Here's a fun fact about Xylats is that like I don't want to get too much in detail mainly because it's a lot of it and I would have to draw it out in order for it to make sense, but like Xylat blood cells are sorry, I just realized I don't have enough room for the other guy I was gonna draw. I'm gonna draw him anyway even though I don't have room for it. What was I saying? I got distracted by how much room I don't have to draw when I'm drawing right now. And I got distracted and now I don't remember what I was saying. Oh yeah, Xylat blood cells work different than the human blood cells do. So like they actually like they can't get viral infections or I'm sorry, they can't get bacterial infections. They can still get some like almost it's the closest equivalent would be a virus, but it works a little different. It's closer to a fungi in nature, kind of infections. But like the way their blood cells work is that they need to break down pretty quickly, or it'll get clogged, just the way they're shaped. Or their arteries will get clogged and stuff. And the way that the body breaks it down is that they store arsenic in the walls of their veins. And if there isn't enough arsenic in their body, then they can get blood clots and get heart attacks. But, you know, Earth didn't take too kindly to Xylats coming over, so most scientists got killed shortly after arriving to Earth. So you generally just have an uneducated population of Xylats that have no idea how their body works. And then on top of that, like humans aren't really like on a big enough scale worried about it enough to actually look into it. So for the longest time, Xylats have no idea why their lifespan is so much shorter on Earth than it is on Lat. But it's because there isn't enough arsenic in the air, and humans are, you know, allergic to arsenic. So, like, what is a necessary, like, if a Xylat were to take their like weekly recommended dose of arsenic all at once, it would kill like a human. A Menoxylate, I should say at least. And but like humans are aware that like there's a lot of arsenic on things that come from Lat, so they have like a very hard ban on any like fruits, vegetables, animals being smuggled in from the other from Lat because of the high level of arsenic. But you know that also poses a problem to Xylats because they're not getting enough in their system in their blood clots. I keep saying clot. It doesn't really clot as much as it gets stuck. I'm trying to think. They're shaped. I guess I shouldn't say it clots. It becomes like a sickle cell situation if their cells don't break down fast enough. But the cool thing about, even though they need arsenic or they get anemia and their blood clots, the good news about this kind of system where the body purposely kills its own red blood cells is that their bone marrow, like, very quickly, in fact, their whole bone is, like, their bones are kind of flexible, and it's all made out of not really bone marrow. They just work too different from humans to really be bone marrow. Yeah, their whole bones are made of like a sort of flexible but also very hard, porous material that produces. No, I'm sorry, their bones don't produce blood. That's right, their skin does. I'm sorry, I'm forgetting my own lore. Their skin produces it, and they produce it super fast, because their blood dies off so fast, and because of that, it's hard to kill a Xylot by bleeding out. You can, don't get me wrong, you absolutely can, especially if their skin gets damaged for whatever reason. Like getting burned or radiation poisoning of the skin is super dangerous for Xylots. Luckily, Xylots have a pretty high radiation resistance, like much higher than humans. But yeah, if once they do get burned, it is bad news. I'll put them in shorts. Eek. Here we go. But yeah, so that it comes with this strength of it's harder for them to bleed out, and they don't get bacterial infections. But like with their skin producing, he's not gonna have a shirt. With their skin producing blood though, like anything that damages the skin is bad news for a Xylot. And on Lat there isn't a whole lot of water, so Xylots don't require a lot of water to live and get water poisoning really fast. Like the only way a Xylot can go swimming is in a wetsuit, or they'll get water poisoning, and it's like super dangerous because there's too much water in their blood. Yeah, as I said earlier, like a burn scar can be pretty bad news for a Xylot. Like a Xylot with a big enough burn scar has to get blood transfusions pretty regularly. And they also absorb a lot of like minerals through their skin. But that also comes at the cost where they're much more like they're much more sensitive to toxins touching their skin. But of course, what's toxic to a human might not necessarily be toxic to a Xylot because of how different their bodily systems work. And I know I've fallen with this. I kind of fall into one of my alien pet peeves. I have a lot of alien pet peeves. In fact, if I remember correctly, no, not even remember correctly. I very distinctly remember this. I actually made the Xylot species out of spite of I didn't like the way that aliens were treated in like Hollywood and stuff. A lot of why, like I didn't like that, and say Avatar, the aliens all spoke one language that was named after their species. I'm like, that is weird. You have a very intelligent species and you want me to believe they all speak the same language? No, thank you. Also, same movie, all the animals like okay, take a look at like earth animals and stuff. Like your bugs have a certain number of legs, your arachnids have a certain number of limbs. And your mammals have a certain number of limbs. Now you can argue like not all mammals have tails, but we all have like the bone structure to allow for a tail. But like other than that, we have 4 ligaments and a head and a tail. And any creature that, evolves similarly will have the same number of limbs because their bone structure or whatever. But like in Avatar, a lot of the mammals that and animals in general that it looks like the was it Na'vi could have evolved from all have 6 limbs. Like they have 6 like legs, a tail, and a head. But the Na'vi only have 4 and a tail and a head, and that drives me insane. Now it'd be one thing if they had like a spot, like if their shoulder blades were built weird or something like that, where you could tell that they have the bone structure for something that isn't there, kind of like humans have the bone structure for a tail. And you can see in our spine, the way our spine is built, that we have the capacity for a tail, we just don't have one. Well, some humans do. It's a really rare condition though. And I think most people get removed at birth if they're born with a tail. But yeah, the Na'vi, like, on shots where it's showing their back, they have 2 shoulder blades. They don't have 4 shoulder blades. If they had 4 shoulder blades, I would have like been like, that's amazing, thank you. You know, it makes sense that the Na'vi don't need an extra set of limbs, so it's very possible that they got evolved out. But you should still have the bone structure for it. It would take an absurd amount of evolution for them to lose, you know, even the bone structure, so much so that several other animals would have also lost it in the area. And, you know, that's something just insane. Boop. And, let's see. I think I'm done with this. Yeah, just so much of boop. Sorry, this was a really quick drawing. It's really low quality. I'm normally much better at drawing. But this was just for funsies. Alrighty. I just realized I don't know how to turn off the stream. Well, I guess I'll find out. I think there it is.